Every year, people who feel perfectly healthy, who exercise, eat well, whose last blood test came back completely fine, experience a heart attack or stroke with absolutely no warning. And here's the part that stopped me cold when I first learned this. The problem wasn't sudden. It had been quietly building inside them for decades. Today I'm going to show you exactly why your standard blood test might be completely missing a silent buildup happening inside you right now. And later, I'll reveal why the most dangerous thing growing in your arteries is often the one your doctor can't even see on a standard stress test. Stay with me, because what you're about to learn might genuinely change how you think about your heart health forever. Let me start with something personal. A few years ago, a close family member of mine, fit, active, with no obvious warning signs, ended up in the emergency room. The doctors told us his arteries were severely blocked. We were completely blindsided. His last checkup had shown nothing alarming. His cholesterol numbers looked reasonable. He wasn't overweight. He walked regularly. And yet there he was, lying in a hospital bed, having just survived something that kills millions of people every year. That experience sent me deep into research to understand how this actually happens. And what I found genuinely changed how I think about my own health. So I want to share it with you today, as clearly and honestly as I can. Your arteries are essentially the body's delivery highways, flexible muscular tubes carrying oxygen-rich blood from your heart to every single organ you have. The inside of each one is coated with an incredibly thin layer of cells, almost like the surface of a brand new non-stick pan, smooth, slick, nothing sticks. When that lining is healthy and intact, fat particles and immune cells stay exactly where they belong, moving through the blood, not burrowing into the artery wall itself. But here's where things begin to go wrong. Certain things damage that inner lining over time, such as persistently high LDL cholesterol, often called bad cholesterol, high blood pressure, smoking, and sustained high blood sugar over months and years. Once that inner surface gets scratched and roughened, think of a non-stick pan that's been scrubbed with steel wool. Now sticky and damaged LDL particles start slipping through the cracks into the artery wall itself. And once they're in there, they go through a chemical change that essentially makes them toxic and harmful. The body recognizes this as a threat and sends in white blood cells to clean up the mess. Those cells start absorbing the fat particles. They eat and eat and eat until they become so bloated and overloaded that they simply can't function anymore. They swell up, lose their shape, and die, leaving behind a growing pocket of fatty debris inside your artery wall. That deposit is the very beginning of what will eventually become a plaque. Now here's the part that most people are never told. This process does not begin when you're 60 or even 50. Autopsy studies conducted on young people who died from completely unrelated causes, such as accidents for example, found early fatty deposits already forming in arteries in teenagers as young as 15. In the large central artery alone, these deposits were found in roughly 20% of adolescents, aged 15 to 19 years. By your 30s, measurable changes are already developing inside artery walls in most people. By the time you hit 40, detectable plaque is present in approximately half the population. A large study examining over 4,000 apparently healthy adults aged 40 to 54 found that 63% already had silent, symptom-free plaque in one or more arteries. And here's what really hit me. 60% of those people had been rated low risk using standard medical screening tools. Their routine tests showed nothing concerning. The plaque was already there, growing quietly, completely under the radar. Now this is the big reveal I promised you at the start, and this distinction could genuinely save your life. Not all plaque behaves the same way, and understanding the difference matters enormously. Some plaque that has been building slowly over many years develops a thick, tough, stable outer shell. It may narrow your artery quite significantly, it might show up on certain tests, and it can sometimes cause symptoms like chest tightness or unusual breathlessness during physical effort. Uncomfortable and serious, yes, but in a way, at least it announces itself. But there is another type entirely. This one has a thin, fragile outer shell and a large, soft, inflamed interior packed with immune cells and fatty material. This type might barely narrow your artery at all. A standard exercise stress test might miss it because it doesn't reduce blood flow enough to trigger symptoms during exertion. It looks minor. It looks manageable. But that thin outer shell is unstable. It can tear without warning. And when it does, the soft inflammatory material inside suddenly spills out into the bloodstream. Your body recognizes this exposure as an injury and immediately responds by forming a blood clot at the site. If that clot grows large enough to completely block the artery, heart attack. If it happens in an artery feeding the brain, stroke. Research indicates that approximately 75% of heart attacks are triggered by exactly this mechanism. Not from the largest, most obvious blockages, from these smaller, quieter, unstable ones that looked unremarkable from the outside. So what can you actually do with this information? The research here is genuinely encouraging. Cholesterol-lowering medications, when used at the right level for the right person, have been shown in multiple clinical trials not only to slow plaque growth, but in some patients, to actually reduce its size. A newer generation of cholesterol treatments is showing even stronger results when combined with existing medication. Lifestyle changes matter significantly too, such as quitting smoking, regular physical activity, and keeping blood pressure and blood sugar under control, all of which meaningfully slow the progression of this process. One clinical trial found that an intensive combination of dietary changes, aerobic exercise, and stress reduction was associated with a measurable reduction in arterial narrowing over 5 years. But here's the honest truth. The research keeps confirming that lifestyle changes alone, without appropriate medication, rarely produce significant reversal once plaque is already established. For people at genuine risk, combining both approaches gives the strongest results. The single most important thing I want you to take away from this is straightforward. Plaque does not appear the night before a heart attack. It has been quietly growing since your teens and 20s, continuing through your 30s and 40s, producing no symptoms, triggering no alarms on standard blood tests, hiding in plain sight. And the window where it is most manageable, most treatable, most reversible, is exactly that long, quiet, symptom-free period. If you have high LDL cholesterol, high blood pressure, a family history of early heart disease, diabetes, or you smoke, please have a conversation with your doctor about whether more detailed cardiovascular imaging makes sense for you. Because this condition, when caught early enough, is absolutely manageable. Biology is not your destiny. You just have to know what's happening inside you first.